Okay. Okay. We'll call the order of the meeting for the Area Planning Commission for August the 7th. Stand for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brenda, if you could call the roll, please.
Atkins,
Here.
Bothwell, Royals, Cottle,
Here.
House, Hicks,
Here.
Hunt,
Here.
Nevers,
Here.
Knuckles,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Todd,
Here.
Wright,
Here.
Reedy.
Here. All right, next up on the agenda is approval of the minutes. So there's one that came out in the packet, and then one they just handed out for the executive session meeting that we had on June 26th. So first we'll review the one meeting from June the 5th.
Make a motion that we pass minutes from June 5th, Area Planning Commission.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a first from Steve Wright, and second from Knuckles. Call the roll, please.
Atkins,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Nevers,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
All right. Then there, what we just handed out, because we had a executive session on June the 26th, which I believe was open to the public. I don't think any public showed up. Basically, we discussed final budget issues, contract with the attorney, and personnel matters. We need a motion. I know that we need a motion for that also, I think, do we not? Even though maybe most of us weren't here, but this is just to put into the record that we actually had a meeting and discussed those items.
So moved.
Brian makes a motion. Do we have a second? Frank makes a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Atkins,
Yes.
Bothwell, Cottle,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Nevers,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Go back to old business. Next up, more issues, or Brian, you want to update us where the pond ordinance is going? That should be a draft 2, about third, fourth page back into our packet.
I think I handed out.
And then you had another handout. Yes, I think you did. There is a handout for it. Yes.
So, again, we had this going at the beginning of the year, and we kind of lost steam through our time off, and we didn't get it on one of the agendas. So just briefly to go over it quickly, this is a pond ordinance for ponds out there that are 1 acre or less. We currently have any pond that goes in or clearing of land that is 2 acres or 2 acres or more, 1 acre or more, actually has to go through USDA Rule 5 and then gets a grading permit through the Area Planning Commission. This would be for 1 acre or less. We had a couple of situations come up where we had questions on setbacks for ponds, where they could be located, where fill dirt could be, and at the time, we had 0 ordinance or 0 answers to that because we didn't have an ordinance. I had a discussion with the Drainage Board, Health Department, as far as whether or not we felt it was needed or not. I also did all surrounding areas to see if they had a pond ordinance or not, and come to find out, almost everyone surrounding us has a pond ordinance but us. So I took those 10 ordinances and I put them together, one to get something on paper, start working with it, took it to the Drainage Board. Drainage Board consensus in March 14th. I originally brought it to you guys in May 2023. We didn't have time to go over it in June, we didn't meet in July, so now we're
Looking at it now.
So you've had plenty of time to go over it, so I'm sure you guys are well versed in. So I figure what we'll do is kind of give that to you to digest. I do have on the last page our questions that we still have as far as the ordinance goes. Permitting fees out there, we've seen anywhere from $25 to $100. Land use table, we've seen it call for a special exception. Our current land use table has nothing for small ponds. Our ordinance has nothing for small ponds, but the land use table says for artificial lakes that are 3 acres or more, it calls for a special exception. Even though we have no ordinance for that. So there I was wanting to do a small pond, 1 acre or less, or lake more, into the land use table, we kind of go with this ordinance.
So it kind of matches up.
Yeah. Again, anything over an acre has to go
Speak
through
of-
USDA grading permits. For 3 acres, it says special exception, but then we've got nothing to back it up as far as an ordinance goes. We don't have any requirements they have to do, other than come in for a special exception. The other thing that I saw was who has the authority. Some of them, it stays between Area Plan Commission and BZA for variances. Some of them go between the surveyor and drainage board for variances. Kind of the way we wrote it up, it would stay with area plan with approval from surveyor, health department, or highway department where applicable. Any variance to zoning would go to the BZA, any variance to drainage would go to the drainage board. So if they've got to say there's a regulated drain, they have to be 75 foot off a regulated drain, that would be for the drainage board to approve. If they want to go 20 foot when it's a 25 foot setback, that'd be for the BZA to approve. That makes sense. And then into setbacks again, kind of all over the place. We had setbacks from property lines between 20 foot and 100 foot. Setbacks from right-of-ways anywhere from 30 foot to 150 foot. We tried to keep it simple, so I kind of put what the recommendations were in there. Those are kind of the spots, unless you find something else in the ordinance, but those are the spots that we still need answers to before we actually take it to public hearing.
So do we want to look at this, bring it back, have our questions are answered and discussed and fine tune it at the next meeting? Or do you want to spend some time right now and fine tune it so we can get it to public hearing for the next meeting? Or do we need to read through it and digest it like you was saying? I think we need to move it to the next meeting. All right, so go through it, read it, recommendations. If you have any questions or concerns, give Ryan a call if you don't quite understand. And hopefully we can get it into more of a final version at the next meeting so we can get it to a public hearing. Mr. Wright?
Mr. Todd, do you have any problem with this at all?
No, I like this latest version.
Okay, good.
You got with Raymond, made a few changes, didn't you?
Yeah.
So then I'd read it a couple times.
And that's what I told you, I'm not going to
Right.
pretend to know more about drainage than the drainage board.
That's
Right, I think that's where you need to,
I wanna
Water.
make sure he's comfortable.
I'll be going out and look at it, then there's a 5-member drainage board that, we get presented the plan, so it won't all be on my responsibility.
And that was the site plan. Right now, we've got 0 ordinance, so when these go in, we
Yeah.
don't know if there's grading or regulated drains, or we don't know anything that's there when we dig it.
okay.
My main concern is it gonna back up on water on anybody, or is it
Right.
gonna adversely affect somebody if it discharges where that normal surface flow went, or if they're just doing something to dump water on a neighbor where it's never dumped before,
Right.
So
Right.
that's the
So
2
those are-
worries I have on ponds.
And hopefully this will be covered in there, a lot of that stuff.
It is.
Okay.
The
I
site
think
plan's
it's-
the big one.
Yeah,
I think it's good to go as is, but, everybody needs to read it and see if there's anything.
Okay.
So, Mr. Brett, would that go through the drainage board then before it should come back to us?
Well, the drainage board has already looked, they kind of have,
Even the latest?
well, I think a lot of the latest stuff is,
We addressed this latest version, and the deputy surveyor had some input in it, and I think the board's satisfied with it, as far as I know.
Yeah. And the latest changes we made weren't used. I mean, we changed, we pulled a couple things out and wording on a couple of things.
Pat Pinkerton's on the drainage board, he's an engineer, he read it, he seemed to be okay with that last one.
Oh, cool.
What's the minimum for a pond? I mean, like a little landscape pond you put in your yard, does that count too? Do you have to get a permit for that?
a koi pond.
This would be-
I mean,
Not
it just says less than an acre, that would include that, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, that's, if you read at the bottom, it says something about definitions.
Okay,
Again, it's just because we have the questions coming up, we had someone come up and say, well, they dug a pond up, threw all of it in the right of way, and now I've got a 10-foot wall at the edge of my property. And I can't do anything about it, because we don't have anything that says they can't. And if they try to get too close to the road, or want to get too close to the road, the highway department will require them to have guardrails.
right, oh, yeah.
And so it just gives us some safe roads. Brenda has got, she had one that was put in just down the road from her on Wood Row, that the road comes up, and Lois, if she's here, I can attest to this too, the way the road turns, you hit it just right, you're sliding into a pond. They did try to put some cement pillars up, stuff like this, this lets us see that.
The drainage board has 747 miles of easement drains, and the board's decided we're not gonna give any variance within that 75 feet. If you want a pond, it's gotta be out of our 75-foot easement.
So you're comfortable with the way it is right now, so the things that we're talking about, these setbacks, but we need to write into who's authority wise, right? We still gotta decide
I
that,
put it all in there, I'm just asking for,
if you agree,
the questions are
okay.
Is-
Currently written, okay,
$50 permit fee okay, or do you want it to be 100, or do you want it to be 20?
I think everybody needs to read it, we need to postpone it,
mm-hmm,
see what you guys think.
all right. Sounds good. A lot of good work done up ahead, so we should be able to address that next meeting. Rules and procedures, next up on the old business. So, at our last meeting, 2 months ago, it was directed that we would get together, a group of us, Brian Hunt, David Broyles, Randy Atkins, myself, and Randy were there. I thought we had a very productive meetings. We did it over 2 different meetings, or 2 get-togethers. So we had our current one there in front of us. Then we went through all the recommendations that Mr. Boswell had sent in, and we addressed each one of them, went through and see where they tied in and kind of worked those in where needed or could. And then we went through with the staff, and Ryan came up with as far as codes and things like that, or adjustments, and we weaved it all together, I thought very well over the 2 meetings. So, I know he emailed out everybody's, but not everybody has enough paper in their printer to print out some of the stuff, so we did get a copy tonight, right? That's the red highlighted one there. So you want to explain what the color coding and all that means?
Yeah, basically with what I emailed you, it has this, everything in red are things that we've changed, everything in black was original. Anything in blue would still be a question, and I think we had one or 2 questions in there still.
Right.
I also sent out with the email the exact changes and what was changed, so you could reference that, and I also sent out Dr. Bothwell's recommendations to you. So your emails, you have those 2. Here, this would be the final version, everything in red is what we've changed.
So once again, I would, unless we all studied this over the last few weeks that came through an email, we probably need to digest it real good, read through it. I think And then at our next meeting, we will go through it line by line if necessary, or especially the areas that still need some input. But overall, I think we did a very good job, or the group did as a whole. Because, and I think Randy and Brian and that, we took each item and we didn't just say yes, no. We kind of analyzed a lot of it from different angles and things like that to see what it was trying to get at, and making sure that we were hopefully writing it out right.
And continuances was one of our. And let me say that Rules Committee, they stayed till 10 o'clock one night. They wanted everyone to get through it at least once. I applaud you for that.
So, any other questions? Anything else? So we got some homework to do. Pond ordinance and the rules. Under new business, ratification of a new hire by the executive director. So you want to introduce, or what happened in the office, and we need to get some consensus approval
This
from
was out of our executive committee
Right.
meeting.
So yes, part of our executive committee meeting was to address the lawyer issue, help, and then there was the other item that was listed there, budget.
So basically, this is ratification for bringing Grace Brown back.
Okay.
For those of you who remember, Grace was our original code enforcement secretary. We have tried to get her to full-time. This will be year 3. She left us in early spring for a full-time job. Was really unhappy with it and was wanting to come back, and with the way we worked things out, she was able to come back. So we were able to bring back in a code enforcement secretary that was our original code enforcement secretary already trained, so.
That should be good.
That's helped out tremendously. This is just to make it official.
Okay.
We asked going into the executive committee if the executive committee could
Right.
approve it, so that we could get her in July 3rd.
And then we'd bring it back to you as a whole to tell you what we did and get consensus. But yes, so now we're just following back to what our direction was, and we're bringing it to the full board for your approval also. Yes?
So full-time, part-time?
She's part-time, but I'm hoping for full-time.
If you're there.
Yeah. I think that's probably in the budget end of it. So we probably need a recommendation or a motion to support the hiring of Rose back.
I'll be so moved to approve.
Okay. Tyson makes the first.
Let Ryan
Second.
do his job.
Second.
Second by Brian. And call the roll when you're ready.
Atkins,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Nevers,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
All right. No other new business reports. I know our attorney has got a personal matter, family matter down in Florida, trying to take care of that. So he regrets not being here. Any updates through, I guess he's working fine. He's been into the office like he was saying he was going to, helping get codes, cases back.
We have been in contact with them. Nicole and Katie right now are getting, you want to tell them what, 5? They're working right now to get 5 properties, and one is Jonesboro, which we're gonna be looking at doing an emergency order on.
Our current issue is, as of right now, because of the fact that we've been so far behind without a building inspector, there's only 4 dates left in the year. August 22nd, which we cannot do.
Okay.
September 22nd is the most feasible one. Then we got September 6th, October 5th, and, yeah, and that's it.
So those are court dates that you can take people to? Is that what you're saying?
As of right now,
Okay.
we're working with Glickfield because he wants to move it instead of having them on the Fridays. He wants to have it during the rest of the week now. That could open up more court days.
Okay.
We're still waiting to hear back about his communication with the courts to figure out if that's gotten changed. As of right now, we're taking Overman, 3514 Overman, which is Eric Guy. He's one of our issues that we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. We've got both the Puckett property at 401 and 435, with 435 becoming an emergency, which we're hoping we can probably get that one in
For the motorcycle.
within August.
Uh-huh.
And then, I'm missing one, Gerstoff's property on 400. We've been dealing with that one for the last, longer before I even got started in 2019.
Okay.
So, right now, we've got our top ones that we've been dealing with over the past few years, let alone decades now, that we're finally getting in with the
Alright.
help of more people,
So we're back rolling again.
hopefully.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that as we get through.
Okay. Director's report?
So I sent out the general director's report. For tonight, wanted to talk about kind of what we've done. July 3rd, we were allowed to bring Grace back and get back up to full employees. Our goal for July was to focus on the new software. We're trying to get residential permits, sign permits, electric permits, and general contractor. We're trying to get through that, get it all up and running, and get it live. We're hoping to spend August getting about 5 of our contractors doing nothing but using that software with us. Once we can get that done, we will go live come September. That completely opens us up, because right now, only certain people know how to use the old software. So right now, we're having to worry about, okay, who's in the office, but make sure someone here can do permits. As we open that software up, we can all do permits now. So we're excited. We were hoping August 1st, but we're about 100 permits short.
I'm down to like 80 now.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're almost there. As soon as we can catch the new software up with the old software permit-wise, then we'll go on to the new.
Right.
So that's kind of what we focused on in July. Coming into August now, so pretty much, I'm gonna start taking half of the building inspector schedule every day. Nicole and Katie are gonna start focusing on code enforcement. We gotta get Katie around to 100, and how many cases, get her caught up on all of those cases. We've got a lot of paperwork with Grace coming in now too, to start pumping into Mr. Whitfield, so.
Yep.
Our hope is here the next 2 months, we get software up and running and we get a ton of code enforcement. That's office goals. To update and kind of put it with that, our hope doing that is, we have the comprehensive plan right now. We were able to get them a citizen list that they got approved by the state. They
Good.
were going to start sending out surveys at the end of last week. They said it'll take up to 3 months on the surveys before it's back to us. So we're hoping in the next 3 months, we can get software up and rolling, code enforcement back up to going, and be ready for that comprehensive plan when it comes back to us. On the attorney, did go to the commissioners. Commissioners did do a line item for our major litigation. So that's all taken care of. The council, I basically have to go back to them in September, as far as appropriations or transfers, to pay for. We've got $5,000 to pay for the 3rd quarter, which leaves me $1,000 in legal. I got down to another $4,000 for the end of the month. Obviously, that raise is already in the budget for next year. So as far as attorney contract, we still haven't got David to sign yet, but we gotta get him here. So it was unfortunate that he couldn't be here tonight, but I will convey that he called me about 10 times saying, yeah, I just can't be there. He said he'd get on WebEx if he absolutely had to, but they're trying to get her hooked up here as quick as possible. His mother fell in Florida. She was in rehab. The whole family's down there right now trying to get her back up to Indiana. So that's where he's now. The other thing with the council that I will note, and this gets back into Aaron, and I want to thank Randy. Randy showed up, he was there for me, and the council basically, they created an additional additional building inspector position, which for the most part Nicole took, for her current salary. And they left Aaron's position there at $37,000 for the year. So at this point, that position's there regardless of what we do. If it doesn't, if everything doesn't get dropped, then that just rolls over into the general fund at the end of the year, and so does that position.
It eliminates.
So we, right now, technically, we have two building inspectors. They approved our moves and approved our tier moves on salary. So overall, council's good to go.
Okay.
I don't think anything else.
And if you remember, we had kind of heated discussion about that, and I strongly suggested that we let the council make that decision for us before we get all bent out of shape about reacting to Aaron. So maybe I'm the only guy that has faith in the council, if they're gonna do what we need to do. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, we had them confused for a good 20 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. So going on to correspondence and other business, 7.1 is pulled, basically. Is that not,
Yes,
that one?
in discussion with Mr. Nash, with what he's wanting to do, we figured that we could actually petition for a special exception with the BZA. So that's the route he's gonna go for September. Go to the BZA for special exception.
All right. Flip the page. 7.2. We have, this is the Gillespie request.
So just a little reminder, some of you may not remember, but we had a couple of years ago, we had an issue out with the slaughterhouse out on 9, North Madison Road. The owner at that time, we kept having cows get out, and every time we thought we had everything taken care of, we ended up with cows out or sheriff's reports or what have you. So we ended up doing a written agreement with that individual. Eventually, that individual sold it to another individual who came in and spoke to us about what he wanted to do. And Mr. Gillespie is kind of coming in, he is now the owner of that slaughterhouse, and he's wanting to come in and discuss what his plans are, to discuss with you guys. Again, we do have the written agreement.
That went with transfer sales, right?
Right.
So that we came up with a couple years back.
Again, when Cameron came in, he had some requests that he wanted. We never really did anything with them, but we never had an issue out of the meeting. So he was supposed to get back in here and get something done. He never did call back, and then by the time it was done, he's now sold. The major difference here, and we've got the written agreement, is in your packet.
That's the last page, maybe?
Yeah, it's on the back.
Okay. Yep.
It is the,
For that general ordinance 2-20.
as far as the statement of commitments, we had approved, number 1.2.1, we had approved use is for wholesale slaughterhouse operation only. And we put down with no retail sales.
Ryan, can you define wholesale slaughterhouse? Well, what's a wholesale slaughterhouse?
That would be, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, that would be like whole cuts of beef, whole,
Subprimals.
yeah.
And that's going back to a processor then?
That would go to food institutions,
But not the general public?
not currently.
So it goes to a
That would be
third.
wholesale, like
Right.
schools, like we do IU, That would be a wholesale or into a restaurant or another smaller butcher shop. And, I mean, they can still get hand-cut steaks and things like that, but it's not for you personally.
The public to come into your business
Right.
and buy it.
Correct.
So you almost do it, but you can't do it to the public, the
Yeah.
general public.
Correct.
Bulk sales versus individual sales.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And what Mr. Gillespie's asking is, he would actually like to do some retail sales, some call-ins. I don't know if I remember when I was a kid, but at one point, there was a deli section, not a deli, what do you want to
Meat
call
counter,
it?
a fresh meat
Yeah,
counter.
meat counter there.
Underwoods.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you're not one to do, you're one to do call-ins.
It's starting out, yes. Yeah.
So you do custom processing and butchering?
It's in the works. It's in the works right now, yes. We're trying to, I just want to clarify real quick. I would be considered the plant manager there. There is some literature to give to you guys, just to give some background on our company. It's owned by Brian Furr, Biotown Ag, which is in Reynolds, Indiana. That would be the main corporate office. He has about 5,000 head of beef on his farm throughout the year, roughly. And Legacy Maker is the brand that he's trying to create. And he purchased this facility off of Mr. Cameron. He came in here, and I was tasked to try to get it running and change the image of the facility. Most of you can remember what it was years ago when Underwoods was there. Ryan's correct. It did have a fresh meat counter in a U shape. That part, when we started, was there outside of the coolers, but we've expanded into those areas to do processing, to package our stuff to send out. So, like he talked, we're just looking to start out, do some will call. I would call it will call. You call me, say, hey, I need, 10 pounds of ground beef. You can call and pick it up. Right now, we're not set up for people just to come in and be like, oh, I need this or that. I'm trying to get all that in the works so we can start doing some retail out of there. There's a lot of local people that need that, I feel, in Fairmount and Grant County in the area. So I contacted Ryan a couple months ago and started going through some of the rules and regulations that was put on that because of previous owners. And I'm doing everything I can to get that image changed and the facility changed. Grass used to be a problem, all that kind of, we've taken care of all that. Obviously, maintenance on the outside, painting, stuff like that just takes time to get there. But the inside, it's spotless. We're under USDA inspection every day, and we've had zero problems really. So we're in the right direction. We just need to get a couple things taken care of to help us out.
So are you kill, hanging and cutting
Yes, sir.
on site?
Yes, sir.
What's the capacity of the facility as far as live head?
I would say the maximum a day would be somewhere around 15 beef. Currently, we're not killing 15 beef. We're doing about 9 right now. My guys, current staff could probably do maybe 20, throughout the whole week. We would slaughter. I would have to move that in 2 different days because our cooler, we don't have the capacity to hold that many right on the same day. But, comfortably we could get through 20 right now.
Did you say you are being inspected?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have our grant of inspection through the USDA. We've already went through our 90-day trial. When you do that, you get a grant of inspection contingent. I think it's how they call it. After your 90 days, they come in, they look at all your validation records, all the record keeping, all your temperatures. It's like I have 12 binders I have to be in every single day, and then they look at them and they verify all that kind of stuff. So we just actually passed all that. So
What about carcass inspection?
they inspect carcasses 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, they're there on slaughter days. They inspect 100% of the carcasses. So there's only a couple. The only one rule that's written in the, what do you call it, special written agreement. It's just the retail. You can leave the burning of hides and I don't even know we don't do that. So.
So that's, I wanted him to come in and talk to you guys, again, this written agreement was put together originally due to the individual who was there originally.
Mhm.
So,
They were the ones that had like the halal meat
Yeah,
processing.
halal, yeah.
So does that require our approval of it now?
Well, if we're gonna modify it, right?
we've rezoned it to I-2. And then, we rezoned it to I-2 and then through conditions on it.
So if we wanna change the conditions, we gotta have a
Or
legal, or you don't think
Or
that?
just allow it by right. Or you could redo the written agreement. And remove, like I said, you've got,
I don't know, I'd have to
the
see
practice
how
of
that
burning
is.
and singeing animal carcasses to remove hair, they don't do that anyway. They're also requiring the slaughterhouse operation shall remain in compliance with the rules and regulations enforced by the Indiana State Board of Animal Health. You know, USDA and everyone's already doing that anyway. Slaughtering and butchering of animals shall be conducted indoors. So these are the requirements we drew on because they were, previous was out in the back barn hanging carcasses and piling them, and there was complaints of smell,
Right.
cows getting out, I mean, so that's kind of why we went this route.
Mm-hmm. Trying to,
So my question is, the request is to remove this, or?
just one
Come in
line,
and have a discussion on where do you want him to go.
yeah.
And so, within this written agreement, do you have any problem within this written agreement? Because again, it could go back and sell again.
Right.
I just wanna make sure
That's
that
what
we
I
don't
wanted.
open ourselves up to another situation where we've already got it in place. So I guess my question is, can you live within these guidelines?
Except for what he wants to do, retail
Just,
sales.
just the retail.
Just the retail.
I think that's,
all
Just the
he's-
retail.
Right.
yeah, I think that's the only thing that I'd like to have struck from the agreement. We don't do it outside. It's hot out and it's cold out. I like to be where it's 50 or lower, so we don't do that. We don't singe any hairs. Can't remember the other ones on there. You know, I know there was a problem 2 years ago when it was for sale, when Mr. Cameron brought it. There was a red tag on it because the beef kept getting out. I have done multiple things to reinforce that currently. I can't stand here and guarantee you something will never happen. If you've ever owned beef, they can kind of be stubborn at times, and they're 1,500 pounds, so things break. But I mean, I've added multiple things in 3 months that helps secure all that.
So the only thing to strike then is the 1.2.1, is that correct? I'm just trying to kind of follow this.
Here's this.
Oh, you gotta look good.
Yeah.
So you would live within those guidelines?
Yeah,
To me, I mean, just, because again, it happened once before.
Right. It
Yeah,
felt,
We just kind of keep this in place, other than the retail thing, the 1.2.1. And I'd love to have another shop to go to.
yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
any other discussion? So if it sound like we're inclined, do we need to have like our attorney to write up an amendment to this ordinance, basically?
I
Or
will get
agreement?
with David and have him rewrite this and go get this to you, for you to get approval, and then
And then bring it back to us?
Bring it
Is
back.
there any objections, or we seem to be in the same, before we go through all the issues, or? Okay. So it seems like if,
I kind of defer to Randy. I mean, he seems like he knows quite a bit about this. What's your take? Do you see anything else in there?
No, I mean, as long as I know the health department they only pick a day, right? And that's the kill day, because sometimes if it's not inspected, it has to be marked for no resale.
I didn't hear the first part of that, sorry.
if the inspector does not come around and look at the carcass, then that meat has to be marked for not resale.
Right.
Correct.
That would be, the inspector's there no matter what. We have a USDA inspector on slaughter day.
That's one
And
day a week?
right now, currently, we slaughter on Tuesdays right
And
now.
you think you can get him another day a week? Because I know there are processing places that are having trouble getting the inspector there more than like everything else. You know, we cut inspectors in the state of Indiana.
Well, there's a difference between state inspected and federally inspected, and we're federally inspected.
So you have a federal inspector
Yes, sir.
cover.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Help me, I know we're taking time here.
No,
Help
that's
me
good.
understand the differences between the state and federal inspection.
There's different levels. So you can be custom exempt, which basically requires no inspector, and they're supposed to come to your facility once or twice
That
a
would be
year.
not for resale, right?
That would be custom exempt, yes. That was, if you own a beef, you bring it to me or whoever, we process it for you and you get it back. That's all your meat. Then there's state inspected, and then there's CIS, which is like cooperative interstate something. They are permitted to put a stamp on it. It looks like a federal stamp, which is what I use, and then there's federal is what we are. So you can resell federal inspected, and you can also sell state inspected, but you cannot sell custom exempt. Those would be the three stages. And yes, we have.
You don't need both of them, you just need
No.
one of those stamps, whether it be federal or state.
Yeah, to resell. Yes,
Okay.
correct. So we are federal, and we have a USDA inspector there on slaughter day, and almost every single day during processing, they come in, check our logs, check our paperwork, see what's going on in the plant. And like you said, they are shorthanded, so I think in the last 90 days, there's only been once somebody didn't show up because they had a problem somewhere else. But always on slaughter day, and sometimes we have vets. Like I had 2 veterinarians there last week on slaughter.
Because I think by law, you can't sell it unless it has been stamped by
Right.
an inspector.
Yeah,
So you're not gonna, if they don't show up, you're not gonna do anything that day, I would assume.
right. Yeah, exactly.
If you're doing it right.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right, so I say, get with the, and get the, whatever proper procedure amendment to the ordinance or amendment to the agreement. And hopefully we can get it back here by the next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, next item up on the agenda there is, I believe at our June meeting, would it have been? Mr. Boswell asked if we had discussion on the attorney job description. So it is provided in the packet. This is what went out when we were looking to hire. So that's just follow-up from the office and Ryan to provide that in the pocket since that was requested at our last meeting. So I don't know if anybody has any discussion or concerns about that. Next meeting is September 11th, right here. So any other things out of the office? We good? Public input. This is, wait a minute. You got one more?
Before we go there,
Okay.
being on the Rules and Procedures Committee, as Chuck indicated, we had some pretty extensive discussion in some areas, and I just like to highlight where my concerns were. Not that I want you guys to specifically read that, but I would hope that we could generate some discussion when we come back and really start to target this. And on page 2.1.2, the adoption of text amendments to an ordinance. And I think that's something that we need to talk about, and make sure we have an understanding about. And then on the next page, 2.1.8, deals with the decisions concerning development plans and the amendment to development plans. I think we'll be dealing with some of that here in the near future. And Now, Ryan, help me, 2.2.2, does that address public hearings? That's not the do,
Pertaining to investigations and hearings.
that would deal with public hearings, you know, when we have to have one, when we don't? Okay, okay, and, I think absences of members, 4.7 on page 4. And I think that's very specifically, and I think Steve brought that up in a meeting one time, that he was concerned about some absences that were occurring on the APC. You know, there is a procedure that goes along with that. It's on page 4. Technical Advisory Committee, page 6. I wasn't sure that I understood what that was, and I would hope that we could have some discussion, because I think I have a better understanding of it now and its role
Right.
than what I did before we had those discussions.
Mhm.
So that's on page 6. And we did have some good discussion. I think that's it. Thank
So
you.
that's, yeah, those were things that we discussed at length. So yes, if you have questions, hopefully we can answer them. And why we thought a recommendation to what we got printed in the packet. And then anything else you guys bring up. All right, thank you, Randy, for pointing that out. At least they know where to at least pay attention a little bit more when they're reading. All right, so now we'll go to open public forum or public input. This is just basically you can make comments. We may or may not be able to address those issues at this time. So I see somebody wants to raise their hand, come up to the podium, state your name so we can have it in the record, please. Generally, these are limited to like 5 minutes or so.
Linda Sutton, and I'm here, I've been making the rounds. This is a small problem compared to what all you guys are dealing with, but it was a big problem to me. I'm here because a renovation permit was issued to renovate a storage building, and I live in a residential area out in the country. I live house in the woods, where I don't have much going on around me. Well, this spring, a big sign went up across the road for an event center. And so we went down to the area plan, and the permit was issued to renovate this building for a storage building. The man went ahead and renovated it for an event center. And boo-hoo to the other people involved. I've spent all my money on this. Now what am I gonna do? You know? So now he wants a variance after he was called into the office because Mr. Malat said, you know, you got a problem here. You're not permitted to have this business. So anyway, he did get the variance issued for this business. But what I want, I don't want this to happen to other people who've lived in the country for 50 years. Quiet, nice, yeah, I mean, more houses are getting built along the road, but not a business. When there are no leaves on the trees, this thing is lit up like a Dollar General parking lot. It's more than that. And then when they have an event, they turn more lights on the outside. That's not why I went to the country. In the job that I had, if there was a problem, the company, we did what was called a root cause analysis. You take the problem, it's stated, you figure out how it happened, because you don't want it to happen again. Mr. Malat said it was inspected, but the person that went out to inspect it did commercial buildings, not residential. Well, the big flag should have been, why is this storage building have 3 restrooms. 2 buildings, it's got three restrooms in it for men, women, and, what's the word I want? Disability. To me, that's a red flag. That should have been oh, stop, what's going on here? This isn't for residential. They have a great office. They've got good people that work there. They know what they're doing. And they know there's an issue with it. But I want some type of guarantee that this is going to be worked on. When was the last time that the permits were updated? I hear you're getting new software for it. But what do the other counties do to prevent this from happening with them? I mean, there's got to be something. You don't have to reinvent it. See what the other counties have on their permits, what red flags they look for when their inspector goes out. And he said they need more inspectors, and they probably still need another one after you've hired this one. I mean, it's not a big problem to you guys. You live in your house, it's nice, it's whatever. But this has really impacted the 4 houses that are on the road. The poor lady that lives next door to me, she's going to be having, every time they have an event, 100, 120 cars plus their lights from those cars shining in her living room window. She didn't move out to the country for that. So I just want to make sure that this is worked on. It's not put in the back burner and said, oh, we'll get to it. I know government problems take a while, but I want to come back to the next meeting and say, well, we've had a meeting on this. We've red flagged some issues with what we have. We're working on this for a new permit. I want to come back and hear something positive about it so this doesn't happen to other people. You've got a good group here, and they should be able to come up with something.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, I think I understand. We do have an issue out there within the county with there's buildings out there that have never been inspected. They're using the property for what it's not zoned for. We know there's an issue out there, similar to this property, and we have other ones. So there's different methods of getting a variance to be able to do. So I think, if I'm speaking right, our game plan as a group is to get the comprehensive plan done, which we got that in the works, right? But that's going to take some time. And then after we get that comprehensive plan done, is to go to the zoning, area-wide zoning, and look at that and really see what's in there and see if it conforms to what we expect or want or what we should have out there. And that's going to be a monster to tackle, I would think. So I know in the long term we got things, but as far as short term, when somebody comes in, we kind of have to deal with the way we've been doing it, if a variance to what it currently zoned, if.
It kind of goes, I didn't go over this paper, I put this together for budget purposes, but I wanted you guys to see it. When we talk about going through this year, and this is a great example. We went through 6 months without a building inspector. We're getting ready to fix that. For area plan, so far this year, we have done $28,904 in new construction with 6 months of that, no building inspector. So we're gonna have a building inspector back, but even with having a building inspector come back, $28 million in new construction is more than one person can handle. It just is. So we end up with 1,500 open permits, and we have 800 of those permits. If they don't call for an inspection, we won't see them until it slows down. And we can get back through the books, what haven't I seen in 9 months, what haven't I seen in, and that's kind of what we've done, because of the size of staff that we have. And I pulled this together, but I thought it was, looking back going all the way back to 2009, remember from 2009 to 2021, if you look at those numbers, we expected a part-time building inspector, 4 hours a day, to take care of 36 million, 27 million, 17 million, 20.
Yeah, unrealistic.
Yeah,
Are there stages of construction that are the contractor supposed to contact you for an inspection?
yes.
Is that happening?
In some cases, yes, and in some cases, no. And that's where we come back, we show up, we're standing there saying, I'm waiting on a call for a footer, staring at a building.
So do we have fines for these contractors who are not properly informing us of the need for an inspection?
Again, how much time do you have?
Well,
I mean, that's.
I think that's what's getting us into the problems that we're having, though, as Mrs. Sutton has indicated, where there, you know, that contractor progressed before he really, and us playing catch-up is not always a good idea.
Well,
But it's also not fair to the contract, like, if you have a big construction project, you're waiting on somebody to inspect, that's not, you know, that doesn't make business sense for them either. Yeah, it's a problem, no matter which side you look at.
Do you prioritize who you inspect and who you don't?
we come in with a list of who's called for inspections. What we try to do is, if I come in today and I've got 10 inspections, I pull up the map, and let's say everything's down here. So I know, okay, I'm gonna have 5 to 10 minutes in between inspections, drive time. So I'm gonna end, my schedule's gonna go from here, and I'm gonna end in Upland. Okay, go grab the book, what can we throw in Upland? What can I shotgun over here to try to get status updates on? When we can do that, that's great. The problem is, we have one in Van Buren, one in Sweetser, one in Jalapa, two in Sims, Fairmount, one and 2 in Upland.
How much
By the time
notice,
it's done, she's there 7 hours, but drove 6 of those hours,
how much notice are they required to give you?
24 hours.
So once the contractor contacts you for an inspection, you have 24 hours to respond.
And we don't even give them hey, I'd like an inspection tomorrow at 10. It's, I want an inspection tomorrow. We'll best route rules the day. Efficiency and best route will rule the day.
Has this been a common problem for the Area Planning Commission through the years?
It's 1999. That's when my dad started. It was a problem then. It's a problem today. It was not until 2021 that they decided, hey, we need a full-time building inspector.
Your dad didn't miss much. He inspected a couple for me.
Correct. But again, for years,
It's just a
I
4-hour job.
spent November through April going back to all the stuff he hadn't seen in a year. And I would try to get him caught up, he'd come back in, go through the busy season, and I'd come in and try to get him caught back up.
So what correspondence do you have with a contractor if we're unable to make an inspection? I mean, I get what Tyson's saying. You can't hold a contractor up, but yet that contractor has that responsibility to ask for that
We
inspection.
work- I mean, we work with the ones who will talk to us. They'll call and say, hey, we're pouring at 10. Great, give me some pictures. Just so I can verify you're hitting
Sure.
cost down. So, so I can see that reinforcement in the model. So we work well with those who work with us.
Because at some point, you have to document this progression of the
Right.
construction.
And supposedly, they don't go to the next step until we sign off on the permit. Now, we post the permit, and your other issue is, let's say it's a pole barn. So Fairmount Builders, we do the stakeout, post the permit, they call us for a footing. They'll get the building up, they'll call us for the shell, frame, and then they're gone. Next guy walks in, and it may be electrician, it may be masonry, it may be whoever, then we don't get another phone call.
Are they still under Fairmount Builders?
They're doing work,
Contract.
they're supposed to be registered, whoever. If they're a sub, whoever is supposed to be registered with us.
But is Fairmount Builder their spokesperson for that electrician? Is that electrician working
No.
through?
They do shells only.
Shells only, and then the homeowner finishes it off,
So
or
we brought Morton, Fairmount Builders, We brought up 5 of them up to the office and said, from now on, when you're done with your part of it, you call us. That way we know you're done. Because we kept running into pole barns where we're waiting on a call for framing, and the people had already finished the interior, put plumbing in, and had been used for 6 months. I mean, it's what we've done. The answer, we need 2-3 more inspectors.
I don't think Frank's that generous.
No, no.
How about a good drone and a drone pilot?
But again, you ask what other jurisdictions do. We go to meetings once a month where 45 to 50 other building inspectors are there from our area, from District 4.
Right.
And they've got, unless you're Fort Wayne or Indy, they've got 1 building inspector.
That's a
Fort
general,
Wayne, Indy, they've got 10 electric, 10 structural, 10 plumbing, 10, but everyone else is like us.
one inspector trying to handle all that.
So, you know, it's not that it's not uncommon, but again, if I'm going after half the permits I've got to get fines on to, I need an extra code enforcement person, someone to get all that paperwork done.
Well, I think asking for some verification is a good idea, because somewhere down the line, you've got to justify that you
So
gave
that's,
them.
right now, we're trying to get Grace to full-time as our code enforcement secretary.
Yeah, okay.
And hopefully, once we get the software up and running, that'll be like adding a full-time position.
Well, that definitely, because it'll flag when things should be re-inspected, or you put a time out there to remind you or whatever.
We spend probably an hour and a half with the schedule right now, just getting it and getting it out and getting going. If we get this thing done, we're gonna walk into a map that everything's already there to where we're just clicking, okay, 9:30, 10:30. And, you know, it won't take us a half hour to do that, pull permits and get going. If we can get contractors involved enough, the contractors will be doing the permits. So we'll walk in the door, and the permit's already done, we just have to okay it, hit print. So, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that, so that's the hope.
So I don't know if that really answered your question,
No.
but we do realize there is issues out there. Because yours is not the only one that's happened out there where somebody's operating something that's not zoned quite right. And then they get caught, so to speak, and they come in here and ask for a variance through BZA. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah,
So instead of me spending my vacation money or my golf money on a lawyer, so this doesn't continually happen to someone else next year, what type of criteria are you gonna set up? I mean, are you gonna let Ryan make a list that needs, things that need to be added to the permit process? Yeah, it's gonna be more paperwork for them to check it off, but it's another safety issue for the residents out there that a business doesn't open up across the street from you. You know, now, if he would've wanted to take this building and put it into apartments, yeah, people live out there, okay, 2 apartments, fine. It wouldn't mean 150 cars going down the road within a half-hour period. Just this last time they had an event, 5 cars turned around our driveway within 15 minutes.
I will say one more thing as far as the software goes that we don't have right now, where I say, I used to come in the winter and try to catch us up and leave a lot of friendly reminders. Our software is set up to send out reminders in 90, 120, and 180.
I think it even does 30, if I'm not mistaken.
So where we were sending out friendly reminders prior, this is going to send out at certain times.
interval, where are you at?
Instantly email, hey, where are we at? Or we haven't heard from you in 30 days or 60 days.
Now, what kind of red flags can you put on there? to
Is somebody
say,
trying to build something that's not proper for that area?
This isn't corresponding to the permit that you've applied
Well,
for.
it'll generate to us too. But again, until they call us and we can get out there and do status, you know, that's we have went to I went to a two-car garage, and what we had was a two-car garage in Upland, and I walked up to a two-car garage with a three-bedroom home above it, all brick, roof already on it. I asked the contractor, I said, you need to stop, this isn't what you gave us. He walked me through it, and he said, this is a bedroom, this is a bathroom, this is a bedroom, this is a living room. I said, well, you're on one septic, next day the owner calls and says, oh, no, those are offices. Yeah, I mean, and at this point, he's $150 million or $150,000 into it. But again, that's one of them, friendly reminder, go call, friendly reminder, go call, and then we show up and it's like, when we can catch him, we can stop him, but I can't, we can get 10 to 20 inspections done a day, and I got 1,500 permits. So that's where we run it, and if everyone's calling us for inspections, then I've got 1 or 2 extra a day that I can try to do status on.
But
So,
we can't,
my point is, we're trying, we're trying, this new software is gonna help.
we can't penalize them for their negligence?
Again, we can, but now I'll need more help to get all that paperwork down.
I'll just have to write a check.
Yeah, but if they built something that wasn't proper for what they were applying for, that's one thing. If they built a house from start to finish and didn't call for anything, there ought to be some type of fine.
How
point.
often is
Because they
something like
actually
this
filed
happening?
for a permit, and then within the,
My point.
How often is something like this happening?
I mean, it's pretty common that we show up and there are 3 inspections beyond what they were supposed to call us. But again, most of the time, we got a brand new $300,000 home, we're doing a final one. If I was doing a home inspection on it, I'd be there 3 to 4 hours. But we've got 20 minutes to 30 minutes before we gotta move on to the next one.
Can we just do an itemized fine list, and if something happens, you say, hey, I need a check? You know what I mean? I don't see where we need that much paperwork for that, I mean, personally.
I have to check with our attorney to see how that could
Well, I
be.
mean, I'm just trying to help, you know.
If that's, I would assume in their rules, when they file for a permit, they're told to state it where they sign that call for, at these different intervals, I would say.
And I would say some of your other, for those who've been on here for a long time, it was always about how big the hammer was.
Mhm.
There was a certain time to get the hammer out, most of the time it was let things be. Am I wrong? I mean, was it?
Be kind and gentle, but there's some
do the
people
best
you
we
can't.
can, and, I mean, that was we do the best we can. We can't find everyone.
Do you have frequent flyers on that? In other words, the same contractors?
Yeah, if I get a contractor that I've talked to, and this is the third or fourth time, he's usually up in the office, and I'm on it pretty good. But a lot of these can be out-of-town contractors that's here and gone, a lot of them can be homeowners, or, again, we go to a pole barn or a detached garage, this company started it and then handed it off to the owner, the owner's gonna finish it, and the owner says, what do you mean inspections? Or it's always the contractor saying, you mean the owner didn't call you? And the owner always saying, hey, I paid $40,000, what do you mean the contractor didn't call? So who do I find? Code says,
Homeowner.
owner or their agent.
Mhm.
So, that'd be something you guys wanna do it, we'll do it.
If we find them enough, we'll pay for a building inspector or 2. If they earn their keep. All right. Any other discussion? Any other comments from the audience or? Seeing none? Any other business? Okay, our next meeting is September 11th. I call for adjournment. Thank you. So you think we'll get enough fines that we could generate and pay for another person? Well,
Peaceful, Jim.
Say that about it. Always do one.
You know where the old Roosevelt School? Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. They got up and didn't get new classes, and then they built a classroom. And that classroom building across the street from us. Now, since, they built houses back in there for the kids, since then, they've sold the houses to people that drive that come out. Bases, right above,
The building you're talking about, right now, by 350.
yeah, and the issue with this, I think he said that they're getting new things, but I mean, this is, he didn't even, Young didn't even get a permit for the sign. And this is the sign permit, this is what I pulled up. Says Dan Young, owner, Crosswinds, I called him. They haven't owned this property for 2 years.